Okay, we are actually on the first episode ever of the Brute Force podcast. Extremely excited to be here with my co-host Spencer Laheve. My name is Lavontay Santos, and we're going to be your host of this podcast for the foreseeable future. We've actually had a few conversations about adding to the panel. So if that happens, we will make sure we introduce them as well. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'll hand it over to my co-host Spencer, and then we'll get into telling you about more about Brute Force podcast and why we're here. So my name is Lavontay Santos, Marine, and currently working as a cyberspace officer. Love what the cybersecurity domain brings in terms of being able to understand how to protect your own systems and how to share that knowledge with others. So definitely something I'm excited about. Have a bunch of mentors in the cybersecurity domain who are absolutely passionate about sharing their knowledge, and that's what really motivated me and a small group to one bring this podcast to life and talk about that as far as a community, but also create Teufel Hunden Hackers, which we'll get into later. So that's a little bit about me, and I'll turn it over to my co-host Spencer.
Hey, good afternoon, morning, whenever y'all listening to this. Spencer Lahif, as my good friend Levante said, also active duty Marine Corps in the cyberspace domain. Formerly a communicator, didn't really know what I was getting into when I transitioned over to cyber, but really excited that I made the jump, and really excited what has happened since I've done that. Bachelor's in chemistry, so this whole field, communication, cyber, it's all new to me. It's something that anybody can pick up, and that's part of why I wanted to be here with Levante to kind of spread this advocacy. So uh, definitely a cyber advocate, excited to be here, talk about the opportunities, talk about what I've done, talk about what I've seen other people done that's make people successful. And yeah, excited to embark on this journey. Levante started Teufel Hunden Hackers a while back with all of these great speakers and all of these great opportunities, and I'm excited he asked me to be on the board to see what we can do with this nonprofit.
Absolutely, I love it. So let's talk about Teufel Hunden Hackers. If it is the first time that you've ever heard of Teufel Hunden Hackers, and then that is a mouthful. If you were a United States Marine or have been around a United States Marine, you've probably heard the term Teufel Hunden, which is the name that was given to Marines for violently fighting in the Battle of Belleau Wood. And so, whether that is mythical or not, the name stuck and the story stays, and we continue to have that conversation as time goes on. And it's really just from their ferociousness of being able to fight in battle. The name Teufel Hunden was nicknamed for United States Marines, and that means devil dog. So if you've heard devil dog, that is exactly what we're talking about here. So again, taking that ferociousness, whether it's in the physical battlefield and the ability to think and be agile and be innovative. That applies to the physical domain, but guess what? It also applies to the virtual domain in cyberspace. And so the name for Teufel Hunden Hacker is fitting. Some people might have consternation on the term hacker, right, Spencer? Like there's this horrible connotation. If you hear the word hacker, you think of someone who's breaking into bank accounts and stealing all the money, ransomware attacks, things like that. But really, what a hacker is a problem solver. Okay, so yes, a lot of people think about hacker in the sense of someone who's hacking into systems, but it comes down to problem solving. So Teufel Hunden Hacker is really a fitting name for us. We are not breaking into anyone's systems, but Marines, by their very nature, are aggressive about solving problems, and many times doing it with less resources than their partners that are around them, or just because that's the nature of the beast, and it doesn't matter because the mission needs to be accomplished. So that's where the name comes from. Teufel Hunden Hackers. It's something that Marines will talk to you about with pride. And I think it's pretty cool. So it's fitting for us, a group of cyberspace professionals, to adopt that from the physical domain and also apply it to the virtual domain. And TH2 is the nickname because, again, Teufel Hunden Hacker, unless you're a linguist and you try to say that 3 times fast, it's a mouthful. And real quick, our purpose. So what in the world is Teufel Hunden Hackers here for? We are an official nonprofit in the state of Maryland, and our mission is to support the Marine Corps community through cyber education, professional development, networking, and camaraderie. Well, Lavontay, that is a mouthful. So what does that mean? Really, it's just doing what me and Spencer are doing right now. A lot of the time, especially at work, you're talking over things in the cyber domain, but a lot of the value that I've gotten out of being a cyberspace professional is from conversations that I've had after work. It's conversations that I've had in the hallway. So they call it like hallway con, right? And so the thinking was, how can we bottle that up and deliberately create that experience as well? How do we make that experience something that we can have people look forward to again and again, and not just in a work setting? You're in the meeting, everybody's been there, where they don't want to speak up necessarily in that meeting, but they're curious about what the team's thinking. This actually can be part of that forum that gives people the ability, where appropriate, to have that conversation. Mentorship, coaching, as far as what certifications and stuff. Not necessarily a bunch of time to talk about that at work, but this is the ability while you're at home. A lot of us are enthusiasts on our own. We can continue that conversation. So I am going to pause because I can talk about this forever, but really, this is just, building the community in an informal setting. Again, in the cyberspace domain, education is always ongoing, professional development, and at the end of the day, it's a people business. It's about relationships and bringing that all together. So I'll turn that over if you have anything from your perspective, Spencer.
No, I think Levante, you put it better than I ever could. What I really want to get out of this is that community that Levante talked about. Coming from the communications field, it was a much bigger field, and I never felt as much of a part of a team and people wanted to help each other. Since I've come to cyber, what I imagine TH2 is going to be is everybody belongs to it, and it's going to connect us informally, because in order to get anything done, you have to know who can do what you need to do. So the cyber community is going to be smaller by default, and this is going to informally link us, whether we're separated geographically, separated by our skill set, separated by the jobs that we are, currently tasked to perform. Having this informal communication is going to really facilitate all of that. And when you get to the cyber world, they're figuring it out a little bit more. But when you first enter as a young, whatever it is, fresh out of recruit training, fresh out of your school, you don't really know anything about the field. Of course, you've gone through this great training that the Marine Corps, that whatever organization has put you through, but you don't know how to do your job. And this community really embraced me. I believe they probably embraced Levante. We all came from diverse backgrounds within the Marine Corps. And it's because of these opportunities, these relationships we've built, the mentors that we've had, that's really made me fall in love with the field and want to do a lot more to help contribute. I never would have imagined that I'd do all these things on my own, that I would have been provided all these great training opportunities. And it's because of the people that I've been able to interact with outside of the formal setting. As Levante said, the hallway conversations, the phone calls, the Slack conversations, that we just want to help each other. And yeah, it's a great community for that. People love to mentor in the cyber realm. Nobody's in it for themselves. They just want to dump as much knowledge as they can on you because they really want you to succeed.
100%. I came from the tanker community, so even more of a weird connection, right? They're like, okay, communications makes sense. Those are some super smart technical individuals, right? And in the tank community, it's seen as, this kinetic community that wouldn't necessarily be interested in cyberspace. But I was a hobbyist, on my own, and the Marine Corps gave me the opportunity to go to the command, and be able to do something that I was passionate about on my own, but actually serve my country, wear a uniform, and also contribute to protecting our network. So I thought that was absolutely phenomenal, and I immediately signed up. And to Spencer's point, I get to work with people who are truly passionate about the mission, who are hungry for knowledge, and are not people to shy away from a challenge. And just coming from me, and there might be other people out here who are never going to join the cyber space community, whether it's public or private sector. But I will tell you this: if you're sitting out there thinking there's no way that I can do it, I would tell you I didn't see myself being in this field when I first raised my right hand, and certainly not at the basic school when I first entered the Marine Corps. And it's crazy where life takes you, and the Marine Corps absolutely gives you opportunities to grow if you go after them. And I've definitely been able to grow from here. But don't count yourself out. That's what I would love to tell people. If this is something you're interested in, start studying it. And as Spencer also said, start talking to the people who are in the community, and get some of your questions answered. Because at the end of the day, no one is born an expert in cybersecurity. It's not the case. And if you were an expert yesterday, that's not to say that you'll be an expert tomorrow, because this field moves so quickly. Again, there's basics and fundamentals, and definitely get your hands on that. But what's really cool, I mean, this field will challenge you, because you need to understand what's going on, what the trends are, and to keep up with that. So definitely, if you're up for challenges, this is somewhere you want to go. But that's really, I would say the baseline litmus test for if you're thinking, can you do it? Do you like challenges? And are you willing to put in the work? Because again, I did not start out as a communications officer. I did not start out with a STEM degree. My degree is actually in international relations. But as Spencer alluded to, if you really, really are interested in this, like you absolutely have to have a passion for the domain. But if you have that starting point, you have a passion for the domain, and you work and you start networking and talking to the right people, you will be successful in this field. So yeah, I won't drone on too much about that. But if I can do it, not to insult anybody, you can absolutely do it. Because again, I was not the most technical individual, but I absolutely love what I get to study, passionate about it, and the Marine Corps has absolutely invested in us to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I think one of the biggest things this community is going to provide is to let somebody trying to break into the field talk to somebody like you that's going to be able to explain, these are the certifications you need. This is the kind of training you should be doing on your own. This is how I got in. This is the process for that. Because all that information's out there, and you can sit and Google and whatever and try and figure it out. And you absolutely need to do all of that as well. But having a direct line of communication with somebody who's been there and done that, even somebody who just understands the different work roles within cybersecurity and within what we do, they can guide you down a path and get you started to make sure you're doing the right things, because there's an overwhelming amount of information out there. And I'm very thankful for the people who have taken their time to sit down with me, and everybody that I've met is willing to do that for anybody at any time. And you just need to know who those people are, and to get in the same chat channels, to get in the same LinkedIn, whatever it is, just to make those connections.
Absolutely. But let's talk about the people who can join Teufel Hunden Hackers. So I think people are probably listening and they're like, who's actually able to sign up for this? And it's not just active duty Marines. We wanted to open this up as wide as possible and as appropriate. So do you want to go into it, Spencer, or you want me to dive in?
I'll let you start off.
Okay. We start off with military dependents, your government employees and their dependents, official DoD contractors and their dependents as well. and anyone who is considered a friend of the United States. So we do stick it to that. That's really the catch-all, friendly to the United States. And again, if you are curious, if you don't fit into the very clear criteria for membership, go ahead and send us an email at th2@gmail.com. Let me double check and make sure that's our email address for you. Correction, Teufel Hunden Hackers @gmail.com. So again, I'll try to shorten these as it goes, but again, Teufel Hunden Hackers @gmail.com for any other pertinent membership questions. But again, we want to open this up as much as possible because this is a community that's going to support each other. We want to support those individuals who are part of that family extended. So not just the active duty members, but their families as well. Eventually doing that through internships and even scholarships and things like that. So we have a very ambitious goal for what TH2 is going to do. And right now it's just starting the conversation and getting everybody aware that this community exists. And again, the community is here for to support, the Marine Corps and anyone who is friendly to the United States is definitely open to be able to join that. So if you're a public sector individual or organization, if you're a private sector individual or organization, if you are an academic individual or organization, those are people who, if you're in the United States, we are considering you a friend of the United States. If you're outside of the United States and you know who you are considered a friend of the United States, please reach out to us again through that email, and we would love to continue to grow this organization with you and hear from you and how we can continue to build those partnerships and bring as much knowledge to this community as possible.
Now, just to jump on what Lavontay said there, agree with all of that. We are cybersecurity minded professionals, so we're considerate of the fact that phishing opportunities are out there, and this information could get out to the wrong hands. So we do have that little bit of paranoia, I think, but I think that's healthy, and I hope that would encourage people who want to join this organization for the right reasons to join and be a part of this, and trust us with your information. So I want to link active duty to active duty, veterans to veterans, veterans to active duty, geographically dispersed people, definitely anybody associated with the Marine Corps, and anybody who wants to contribute to our mission, provide training opportunities. Please reach out. Nothing is off the table at this point, because again, there's so many people that contribute in so many different ways, and the more I learn about it, the more complicated it gets between public, private sector, and just how complicated and complex these supply chains are.
How much do members have to pay right now, Spencer? I think we said $0.
I believe it's $0.
$0 right now.
Have access to this wonderful podcast, getting to listen to Lavontay and me run our clips every so often. But eventually we do imagine seeing a model where certain individuals are going to have to pay for certain content, and that's going to support a lot of things that I think Lavontay will talk about. But we're looking to provide training opportunities for people, scholarship opportunities for people, as well as just linking people up to those options that are out there organically through other organizations. So right now it's free. That's the big takeaway here.
I love it. Love it. Okay, let's talk about programs, because I think that's like a big piece of what people are probably looking for. Now they know the type of people we're looking for to join the organization, to be associated with. They know that it is free 99, which is sometimes my favorite price. And again, it's free, but we're definitely going to bring that value, because we want to make sure that the barrier for entry is as low as possible. And again, if there's any cost associated with anything, we will be absolutely transparent about what that cost is and about what it's going to be used for. So we'll definitely get that out there. But some of the exciting things, this is probably one of the most exciting pieces that I talked to Spencer about, and the Teufel Hunden Hackers board of directors and the membership about, is the training that we want to provide. So this is something that me and Spencer are working on together. And if you think we're missing something, please let us know. Or if you hear that we're talking about an offering that you would like to participate in, you would like to support as a volunteer, we would love to hear from you as well. So, again, this podcast, this is really the intro. We want to get all this information out there, and you'll continue to hear a lot of these offerings in further podcasts, and we'll focus on these topics and those conversations. So I'll start off kind of with the speaker piece. So that's kind of what's going on right now. Spencer and I will not be the only people talking on the podcast. We'll have interviews with people from industry, academia, and the military, obviously, right? And really anyone who can contribute to our professional development. So that's pretty exciting. Networking, opportunities for those who are transitioning to hear from those who have already done it, things like that. So that's on the speaker piece. And also looking at the ability to offer training. So whether that's with people who already have those skills internally, or connecting with those out in industry. Yeah. What else? We'll go back and forth, Spencer, as we make sure we cover all the offerings for Teufel Hunden Hackers.
No, and that's absolutely, that's where we'd love to go. We'd love to be able to provide online opportunities that are organically TH2 and developed by Lavontay and myself and people that we contracted out essentially to build those programs. But for now, and before we're able to do all of that, there's a ton of free stuff online. And all of us out here in this field are constantly absorbing this training. And it's not all free, but there's phenomenal opportunities that are already there. So we want to get that information out too. So going back to me saying, I want everybody in the cyber community to be a part of this. Something as simple as being able to scroll down on the TH2 website and see the training opportunities that you should get, see where to get them. Courses online like Udemy, Coursera, Udacity, all have free offerings, all have paid offerings in a bunch of relevant skill sets. And there's degrees and, bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, nano degrees, whatever it is, providing those reviews, links, advocacy, awareness to get that information out and get people training, even if we can't provide that training. So capture the flags are constantly being released. It takes a lot of work to build a capture the flag, and we would love to offer our own capture the flag, but just knowing that they're out there. Every Christmas, Sands is putting out a KringleCon, which is a great opportunity for managers and technical experts to go and practice. That's my vision, at least for the next couple of months before we're able to develop a little bit more of our own, is to get that information out to everybody so that they can start training right now and they don't have to wait for us to build something from scratch.
I love it. No, that's exactly the direction we're headed. And yeah, we've given kind of our vision of what we see, but this is definitely a team sport. So as Spencer said, if you have something that you feel like you would love to see us offer, let us know, and we can definitely start tackling that and figure out where we can fit that in. Speaking of CTFs, something that we're really looking forward to putting on, and it's going to be one of our bigger lifts, but our bigger offerings as well, something called CrucialCon. So it's a conference that is going to be sponsored by Teufel Hunden Hackers. And again, just brings the community together and allows you to interface with speakers, training events, and then networking. So more information about that will be coming out, but the tentative dates for that right now looks like it's October 14th and 15th of 2021. As more information comes out, we will let you know. It's already March of 2021, so October seems like it's far off, but trust me, it will sneak up on us, and we'll be executing CrucialCon as really, you would have felt like it's the first time you heard about it. So I'm excited about that piece. There's a lot that we've talked about in today's podcast, just the offerings membership cost, which is zero, and the vision for what we're trying to do. And we're going to keep it as condensed as possible. We talked about a lot, so these are the things that we're looking at getting after, and again with community input. But we're gonna tackle those things because it's going to be plenty. I want to go over just social media real quick, so that you know where we are, so you can interact with us. So first, our website. That's where most of the content that's organic to Teufel Hunden Hackers is going to be. So that is teufelhundenhackers.com. And if you have never spelled Teufel Hunden Hackers, because again, it's pretty difficult, it's TEUFELHUNDENHACERS.com. Okay. And then on there, our website, you're going to be able to view what we're about, events, as Spencer talked about, some gear. So we're going to be putting together some Teufel Hunden Hacker gear, which again, any of that gear is going to supplement the programs that we're going to put on for TH2. Cyber training that we're going to offer, the Brute Force podcast, what we're putting on right now, and then the blog is going to be on there. For social media, we're currently only featured on LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. We're going to keep it consolidated to those three. We might expand. If there's a big request to expand, then we'll do that. But that's where we're at right now. So really find us on LinkedIn and Twitter, and stuff like the podcast, interviews, trainings like that. That'll be put on YouTube, which that'll essentially operate as the Teufel Hunden Hackers TV studio. So a lot of information that I was putting out, but I'll pass it back to Spencer if he has anything to add.
Nothing significant further to add. It's free to join, costs nothing. So go ahead, sign up, start checking out the website, checking out the Twitter feed, reading those articles, because this, as Lavontay talked to earlier, things are happening every day in this community. New things are happening every day. New attacks are happening every day. New defense techniques are happening every day. And you need to be a part of this community. You need to know what's going on, because that's what the generals want to know. That's what the CEOs want to know. What's in the news, you better have an answer for it. So that's what Lavontay and I learned working together. If you're not up to date on the latest hacks in the news, you know what's going on with solar winds. Everybody knows about it now, and you're not the expert on it, then you're behind and you're irrelevant. So you need to be involved in a community like this, and you need to be engaged and learning every day. So, thanks for starting this, Lavontay. I get to jump in on something after you had it going for a while and had some pretty big name speakers. And, I'm excited to provide some value for a lot of people that want to provide mentorship or just really want to jump into the community and start helping out the cyber fight.
For sure. I just wanted to close out. I just realized the name of the podcast. So we talked about Teufel Hunden Hackers and the significance of that. The name of the podcast, we were kind of going back and forth on this, of what should we name it, and what's characteristic of the Marine Corps, but also kind of a branding piece for the podcast. And Brute Force is what came up. And again, if there's a lot of fighting on that, we will change it. But brute force is actually a method of hacking, and it is a way to do it, but it's not necessarily the most efficient way. So I just think it was also fitting, because again, brute force is, it speaks about, you really have to be absolutely persistent to execute a brute force attack. It is not the most sophisticated or exquisite way to do it, but eventually, even if it takes you a million years, you might get there. And also the word brute kind of talks about, it might invoke the violence or aggression. And again, when you think of the Marine Corps, shock troops or a force that goes in, forcible entry from the sea, you think that is a brute force of making sure they are going to land on this beach regardless of what kind of defensive posture you have, and take that beach and make sure that it's secured. So again, taking kind of the Marine Corps culture and tying it into really brute force is actually a hacking method as well. So that's where the brute force comes from. And yeah, so kind of explaining some of the things behind what we do. There's meaning behind a lot of stuff in cybersecurity. It's kind of interesting, and if you ask the questions, even though it's a name that you're like, that's kind of weird, there's actually a story behind it. So I want to make sure where we can, we share those anecdotes, and some people it's going to be absolutely boring. And if you're like me, I actually nerd out to that stuff, and I think it's pretty interesting. So wanted to share that. That is all I have. Again, this is just the beginning, so you'll hear me talk on topics and stuff like that much later. So I don't want to belabor it too much in this episode. But again, I want to thank Spencer for joining me on here and being a co-host, because I know I can talk like crazy. So I'll try to keep that to a minimum. But braving this with me, I'm really excited about this journey. I'm excited about some of the conversations we're going to be able to share with the group here, and we will all grow together. That's for sure. Okay. Without further ado, this was Lavontay and Spencer on the Brute Force podcast, the official podcast for Teufel Hunden Hackers. We will be back as soon as possible. Just make sure you check our social media and the website for the future shows. Until then, we will catch you on the flip side. Thanks for tuning in.